The JLR interview series.
Okay, so it's 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, 30th November, and Jazz London Radio has another Skype interview this evening, and we've got today Rebecca Nash, who's a keyboardist and composer, and it's really great to have her on the station. So, how are you this evening?
I'm good, Laurie. All the better for speaking to you.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm glad to hear it. So it's really nice to have Rebecca on the station because Rebecca's recently brought out her debut release, and that's called Peaceful King, and it's on Whirlwind Records. And I thought it'd be really interesting to get Rebecca onto the station to talk about this. So, just to really start, really. So it's called Peaceful King. And it's your debut release. That's correct, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Okay. So, the first thing I want to say is that it's very accomplished record for a debut release. It sounds more like someone who's brought out a few records. So, very impressed. So, well done on that.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So, first thing I want to ask is, can you tell us about all the listeners about the record? Is there a concept behind it, and things like that?
Yeah, so I would say that the album is very much, it's kind of got a personal sensibility to it. So all the tracks on the record are sort of relevant to my life and are related to it in some sort of personal way. But also I hope that they feel like they speak to the listener as well. And much of the material has been sort of influenced by significant life experiences that have happened to me, and as well as it also being about places I've travelled to or memories from childhood, and also it's very much influenced by a lot of the personal relationships I've had in my life. And I'd also like to think that the music has a sort of sense of a sort of spiritual optimism, sort of at its root. Although I'm not a religious person at all, but I felt like that was a sort of strong part of the music. So yeah, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Now, I'm just thinking what you just said about religious, because I would say a fair number of artists will usually say that they're not religious, but they think the music's spiritual. So what do you think is the difference when you put it in those terms?
I think I was just I was actually brought up a Quaker, but I'm not practicing religious person at all, but I think I'm just trying to speak to, in a sense, sort of like the best part of myself, and write the music from that place. I don't know if that.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Isn't it? It's hard to put into words.
Yeah.
When we're thinking about or how we're writing music, but yeah, I think that's kind of the space I was in when I was writing some of the music anyway.
Yeah, okay. I'm getting feedback on my voice. Hopefully that should be resolved. No, it's interesting because, again, I would say most of the music is instrumentally based. I know there's a few vocal tracks in there as well.
Yeah.
But, usually with instrumental music, you don't really think of those sort of sides of things, or as you mentioned, the personal relationships you've had and just a reflection on things like that. So it's quite a deep record you've got there.
Oh wow, thank you. Yeah. What can I say? Yeah, I think well, it's hard without going into it in
Yeah, sure.
What all of those things were, but very much influenced by kind of key moments in my life so far.
Okay, and just touching on the music itself, it has a lot of space to the music. So I assume that's intentional. First of all, can you tell us who the musicians are in the group, on the record dates?
So the singer on the record is wonderful singer-songwriter called Sarah Coleman, and she wrote most of the lyrics, although we co-wrote Grace together. And then the album also features Nick Malcolm on trumpet, Tom Seminar Ford on guitar, Matt Fisher on drums, Chris and Matt on bass, and also Nick Walters created some of the sort of spacey electronic sounds which you might be referring to.
Yeah.
About the space. So most of those guys are musicians that I play or have played with in other projects, and then brought them together for this band. Okay,
so these are people you've been playing with for quite some time.
Yeah, particularly, Matt, the drummer, we've known each other for years, and Nick Malcolm, I know him from the West Country, which is where I'm from, and Nick Walters, I know from college, and we all studied together, actually. Sarah, Chris and Tom, I didn't meet until I moved to Birmingham in 2014. So yeah, I've kind of met them at a slightly later part of my life, but I sort of feel like I've known them for a long time now. But yeah. Yeah,
okay. And also, just wanted to ask about the album cover. It's really quite dramatic look. I mean, what's the idea? Was that intentional? Did you get someone to purposely?
Yeah, so Ning Ning, the person that designed it is a wonderfully talented artist who's based in Birmingham called Ning Ning, and she is also a musician. I play in a band with her. She's actually in Sarah Coleman's band, but she is the most amazing designer and illustrator and face painter. So the way that we came up with the cover art was that we had a pretty epic sort of sharing of ideas and Pinterest session, and I talked her through a lot of the themes of the tracks on the album, and then I just kind of left her to her own devices, and she came up with a sort of artistic response to everything that we talked about. So pretty much all the tracks are somehow reflected in that artwork in some way, and she managed to manipulate a picture of herself with her face painted, and she has this amazing software that she uses. I can't remember the name of it. She was able to kind of draw over the top of it and bring to life some of the imagery that she was sort of inspired by from the music. So that's how that came about. And actually, I wanted it to be a kind of ambiguous image, so that whoever's looking at it, the interpretation is left to them. So I didn't want it to be specifically one thing, or it's not really gender specific or race specific at all. It's just a kind of quite an open image that hopefully speaks to you in whatever way. But I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? She's amazing.
Yeah, no, it is. I'll tell you what that just popped into my head. It will look good, really good on a vinyl, on a big vinyl cover.
You should say that, Laurie. I don't know if you prompted yourself to say it, but we do have a lot of very beautiful vinyl at the moment, which arrived a couple of weeks ago, and so yeah, it's on the front cover of that, and actually on the record itself, and it does look beautiful.
Yeah, so. I can imagine, definitely. Alright, so I just wanted to ask, so this record came out in July, and I should say that Andrea Vaccari has been plugging quite a few of the tracks on Jazz Doodles, which is good.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about, have you got any dates to support this new release, which you want to tell the listeners about?
Yeah, we did a bunch of dates already, but we do have our album launch coming up next week at the Seabright Arms in London, which everyone is most welcome to. Really, really looking forward to that. That's going to be the end of our tour. So, that's next Wednesday.
Okay.
20th.
Okay.
Which is going to be really exciting. And in fact, Nick Walters, his band is also going to be joining us for that, so it'll be double bill. Okay,
that's great. So that'll be it for this year. But would you have any stuff coming up in 2020?
I've got a bunch of other dates, but not with this band at the moment. Actually,
okay.
We haven't got anything else in the diary. We're going to be recording another album quite soon, and I'll get my head around booking up a tour for that. But yeah.
Okay.
So you should come to next Wednesday, basically.
Yeah, sure. No, I definitely will. And I suppose the best thing in that case is just to let the listeners know what your website is, so they could check out, what you got coming up.
Sure. Yeah, it's RebeccaNashMusic.com.
Rebecca.
There's lots of info about Atlas and also a bunch of other projects that I'm involved with. Nick Walters' project and Sarah Coleman. We've got lots of dates in the diary next year. She's touring her album What We're Made Of, and another exciting project as well. And Nick Walters and I have a bunch of dates coming up in the spring. So really looking forward to that.
Okay, all right, that's great. And just wanted to ask you one or two more things before we finish up. So I just want to know what your influences are. Again, because it's such an interesting record, I would imagine you have some interesting influences for you, that inspired you when you were growing up.
I trained classically up until the age of about 18, and a lot of the harmony is kind of very much influenced by some of my favourite composers. I think there's lots of romantic-y, impressionist-y type harmony in there. Like, I grew up being completely obsessed with Debussy and Ravel and composers like that, and also jazz pianists that have been a huge part of my kind of development are piano players like John Taylor.
Oh yes, John Taylor. Yeah.
He is truly one of the most brilliant pianists that, for me anyway. He's just an incredible musician. But also being from Bristol, I grew up on sort of drum and bassy, groovy type music, and so I was really into bands like Portishead and Massive Attack growing up. So groove is a massive part of the sound of Atlas. And then I just love kind of big soundscapey type effects. So that's why the electronic element of Atlas is is a big part of that. Yeah,
that's interesting. I think this year it's been a kind of seems to be the year for where a lot of jazz musicians are like really getting into the electronic side, and because there's been quite a few releases on that.
Yeah, Chris Mack is really amazing. It's really fun to perform with him because he is able to manipulate the sound in lots of different ways on stage, and sort of combination of him with Tom Ford, who's also, they have a band together called Stillerfelts, where they explore lots of those sounds, and that is, that kind of plays out on the Atlas gigs as well, which is really great. It's really good fun.
Okay. All right. So, just one more question. Do you also teach and things like that?
I do a bit of teaching. Yeah, I teach at. I do a little bit of teaching at Birmingham Conservatoire. I also work for Cheltenham Festivals, doing some educational projects for them. I have worked for National Youth Jazz Collective over the years, and various schools over the years as well. So bits and bobs here and there. Yeah.
Okay. And it's something you enjoy, I take it.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love teaching. Yeah, I do. I enjoy that.
Right. Okay. So that's all for me then. So just to say thanks for the interview, and looking forward to seeing you play for your album launch. I think that's going to be really good.
No, it's been really lovely to speak to you. Yeah, look forward to meeting you in person there next week.
Yeah, great. So, and thanks for the interview with Jazz on the Radio.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
The JLR Interview Series.